call. Let's see. I'm going to call our September 27, 2018 meeting to order. It's approximately 6 o'clock in the Mona Lisa Drexler Chambers. If everyone would please join me, rise and join me in a non-sectarian invocation, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance. We give thanks this evening for the beautiful weather you've blessed upon us, for the gorgeous red maple leaves, the berries on ash trees, and the beautiful leaf-covered paths that we walk along during the day and the evening. As we conduct this meeting tonight, may we keep in our thoughts the community that we as a body represent. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So you can't be scared. Be that easy. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Catherine Dodge, and I'm your presiding officer this evening. We're going to start with a roll call, and then we'll do a brief safety announcement. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
I'd like to note for the record that Ms. Majors and Mr. Gray are both excused. Mr. Lejeski?
Here.
Mr. Quist?
Here.
Mr. Tackey?
Here.
Mr. Cooper?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Mr. Lawrence?
Here.
City of Fairbanks Representative Ms. Rogers?
Here.
And Ms. Dodge?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. So let's take a minute and talk about emergency exits. We have an emergency exit out the double doors that you came in. You can just go straight out, continuing following double doors. We've got a little side door over here behind the column. If you go out that door and then to your right, we'll end up in the parking lot. Another door over here, same thing, out and to the left, and that'll take us to a parking lot. We don't expect to need them, but if we do, we'll know where they are. So, is there anyone that wishes to request an item be removed from the consent agenda, or is there any other procedural motion that needs to be made? Seeing none, does anyone need to declare a possible conflict of interest for items on the consent agenda? I see no one raising their hand, so that takes us speedily to citizens' comments. And we have two types of citizens' comments. We have citizens' comment A, and that's for items that are on this agenda in front of us, and citizens' comments B, which are for items not on the agenda at all. So I'm going to start by opening up citizens' comments A, which is items on the agenda. I don't have anyone signed up to speak on this. I see no one coming forward, so I'm going to close citizens' comments A. And that will take us to citizens' comments B, and this is for items that are not on the agenda, so anything in the world beyond what's on the agenda. I'm going to open them up, and I have 3 people signed up. And after those 3 people have spoken, if anyone else wishes to come forward, and there's an empty seat, you're welcome to do so. I'll start with Sean Kroska and Kate LaPlante with the Fairbanks North Starborough School District, it appears.
Okay.
Go ahead. Welcome.
I'm Kate LaPlante with the Fairbanks North Starborough School District, and I reside at 1220 Spring Glade Road. And I'm just here to share a little bit of the highlight of what has been happening in the borough with our preparations around Alice. Some folks have maybe heard around our safety procedures that we are introducing. We kind of dipped a little toe into it last spring, where we trained all the principals, and this year we are starting with training all the staff, who will be trained by October 31st, followed by 4 community events for parents, community members, and anybody that wants to come. Those will be held at the 4 high schools, October 23rd at North Pole High, October 24th at Lathrop, October 30th at West Valley, and November 1st at Ben Eielson, serving all the feeder schools Each of those will be hosted from 5:30 to 7 p.m., and Chief Dutra will present an overview of ALICE at each of those, followed by an opportunity sort of by elementary or middle or high school level for parents and community members to get a little bit more understanding of how it will be introduced to students. Me being an elementary principal, and a parent of an elementary child, I feel like it's very important that we have age-appropriate, developmentally appropriate materials to introduce this sensitive material to our students. And so I just wanted the folks to know here and listening at home that we'll be using a series called I'm Not Scared, I'm Prepared, and it's a picture storybook. You can look it up online. It comes with a workbook. This is what our school counselors will be using to introduce this topic to young students, and it explains it in a matter-of-fact and serious way, but not in an overly scary way. And research shows us that students are probably already somewhat concerned about the things that they hear in the news, and they are actually very reassured to know that the caring adults that they see every day have a plan and that they are educating and including them in that plan. So having a plan is actually very reassuring to most students. So that's kind of a quick overview about ALICE, and I think that we as a district are putting forward a really solid plan to include all of our stakeholders in this process.
Thank you. I'm going to be brief here. So thank you for the opportunity to speak just briefly. I have two main points.
we need your name
my
and
name
address,
is
please.
Sean Kraska. I reside at 2710 Candy Lane, and you spell my last name Kraska.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to share two additional highlights that are happening in the Fairbanks School District. The first is that Wave 3 of our Personalized Learning Initiative rolled out last week very successfully at our high schools. So if you've been following our Personalized Learning Initiative, you know we started with elementary schools. Last year we connected with our middle schools, and just last week on Wednesday and Thursday, all 5 of our high schools held launch night and had various themes around those. A handful of them incorporated open house activities with that, and very soon to be lots of fun pictures about those events and those activities in all 5 schools on our district website. So hopefully if you have high school age students, you're able to get to some of those, and if not, we invite you into the schools and see a lot of the great things that teachers and students are doing. The last thing is I would like to invite the community to a community forum on October 8th from 6 to 7:30 at Ryan Middle School. This is a continuation of our, so far we're a year into it, the last phase of our comprehensive discipline review of our school district discipline policies. We started this work. Our board thought it was a good idea to review our discipline policies as they relate to students of all ages in our school district. It had been well over 10 years since we did that, and we know there's a lot of new research out regarding discipline and how that impacts students and schools. And so We've had community, parents, students, teaching and support staff, administrators, board members, just a wide array of community members across Fairbanks who we consider stakeholders involved in this process over the last year. And we will be having a forum to share a lot of that input, the results, and our next steps for direction and rewriting policies at that community forum. So we'd love for you to see everyone out in the community. School, if you have school-age students or not, it doesn't matter. We just want to hear all the voices. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's see if there are any questions for either of you. Mr. Lawrence.
Could I just see that book for
Yeah, that looked
Absolutely.
interesting.
a second?
You mind if we pass it around?
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Just so you know, we are not broadcasting yet. We're streaming, but not broadcasting. So if you wanted to share any of that information, if with the school board rep could do that.
Okay.
At 7 o'clock when they do their presentation or their
Great. Thank you.
discussion. Thank you. Super. Thank you. So now I have 2 empty seats, and I have Mickey Rosser and Jimmy Baldwin. Come on up, Jimmy. Welcome. please give us your name. You start, Mickey.
Okay.
Spell your last name. Tell us your neighborhood.
Mickey Rosser, Rosser. I live in the downtown area on Denali Way. I came this evening, of course you know what my subject is Mary Sy. And I just, before the Assembly's changes composition here, I just thought I'd like to just throw a few things out that I've observed through this process. First of all, regarding the seismic study, my husband worked in construction for many, many years. Many of our friends are in the trades. I know engineers. I still, again, am having a really hard time understanding why this has taken so long. I'm beginning to believe this is more of a political thing than it actually is trying to get facts to the citizens of Fairbanks. And I hope if these kind of studies have to be done again, that PDC, who was, I guess, doing this study, that we might try to use somebody else that might be able to do these things in a more timely fashion, especially since there was such a discussion of Mary Sy and there were, issues on the ballot, regarding maintenance and money. I'm sorry, I just feel this is a political thing. Another thing I'd like to state is, as far as citizens' input, there were the sandbox meetings. I did attend the first sandbox meeting. At that first meeting, we were told that they weren't going to answer any questions on any Pacific buildings. And so more or less, it was just getting talked to, and it was informative. But when you have public meetings and people think that's what they're for, and you're told you're not can ask certain questions, I don't consider that listening to the public, or they shouldn't be advertised as a public forum if you're not going to be able to ask questions. Also, on the Mary Sy and the user, our numbers aren't good. There's nobody that uses Mary Sy. And, it's just hard right now because, of course, when the sauna's down, a lot of people use the sauna. The fee increases, mine over doubled, and you want user rates to go up, but it seems like you're targeting us to make everything hard. And I'm running out of time, and so I know that there's going to be new members. I know some of you are moving on. Good luck to all of you. I'm optimistic and hopeful that with the new assembly, new mayors, that hopefully we'll have feel like there's a more open communication and there's a little more transparency. And that's all I came to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. Let's see if there are questions. Mr. Roberts has a question for you.
So the sauna isn't working right now?
Well, it is working. It's not really hot, but so we've heard, that's probably the best it's going to get, or it's fixed. It's fixed. But it's not warm. It's not like it used to be.
Okay. So is there anything else that's not functioning there right now that they took down and haven't got fixed this summer? They just didn't do that one adequately, but is there anything else? I mean, are they doing any work there?
They've had maintenance man there, working on the sauna for months and months and months. Other than that, there was a borough employee maintenance man there today, and he got up on the outside vent to the sauna, and to me it appeared like he was just drilling in a screw. I mean, it was bam, bam, and he was gone. And I didn't see him any other time while I was doing anything other.
Okay, thank you.
He was in and out of there.
Mr. Williams, didn't you tell me that do you have any factual, technical information about the sauna status, or do you want to talk to Mickey afterwards?
Talk to her afterwards. I can answer
Okay.
the question now if you'd like me to.
Okay, I'm sorry to say, but I'm going to an AARP meeting,
Okay.
so I'm leaving.
Okay. So what we can do is get technical information, and I believe, Mr. Mayor.
Our sauna's been an issue back to when I was over there. It's always an issue. People want it to be hotter than what it is, and we haven't taken anything down, I believe is the language that Mr. Roberts used. We are still doing 100% of the daily routine maintenance to keep everything functioning as best we can. The sauna is not really a good quality commercial sauna. It doesn't get as hot as folks like, which is a problem because then they throw water on it, which makes it hotter. It also makes it break. And so this has been an ongoing problem for many years with that particular device, and we fix it repeatedly. We really should just replace it, but we all know those kind of issues. But we're not taking anything down. We're still doing all of the maintenance on that building that we historically have.
Thank you. I just didn't want to, we're in our question
I know,
and
I
technical
can't
response
say.
to.
I know, I can't
Anything else
say.
for Ms. Rosser? Thank you. We appreciate you coming down.
All right, thank you.
And I have an empty seat if anyone else wishes to speak on the subject or on anything not on the agenda. Welcome, Ms. Baldwin.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Baldwin. I live on Roosevelt Street in Fairbanks. I am here, I wanted to mention in regard to the sauna at the Mary Sy, the Friends of Mary Sy received a phone call from a man who used to work for UAF maintenance who said they had the same problem at the sauna there at their gym and that they switched to a boiler type sauna and that cured all of the problems that they had with the electric saunas breaking all of the time. And I've got his contact information at home if anyone's interested in that for the future. But I'm here to talk about the Mary Sy. I would like to stress that speaking for a lot of elderly and shut-in disabled people who do use the pool, and that's one of the only places that they attend or are able to get to for exercise, that we feel it's very important that there is a feasible solution for a replacement of the services that the Mary Sy provides to our community. And we would like to help in any way that we can. Our ADA fees for the borough pools has tripled with the last rate increase. So where ADA people were paying $20 for a 3-month pass, they're now paying $66 for a 3-month pass, and that has caused problems for some disabled people to be able to continue to attend. So if there's a drop-off in attendance that we had been seeing, a lot of that could be attributed to the rate increases. Some of the ideas that have been floated past me are in order to increase awareness of the facilities that are available at the Mary Sy, how the borough does or used to do a month in the year where borough buses were free to increase usage of the buses, that maybe rates could be lowered for a month out of the year or even waived for buddy passes, you know, come and bring a friend, pay one fee. There's a lot of different ideas floating around that might be able to help with increasing attendance at the Mary Sy and other pools. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Let's see if there are questions for you, Ms. Baldwin. I don't see any, but thank you. We appreciate you coming down and giving us some ideas. Mr. Webb? Weed? I'm sorry, Mr. Weed. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Carl Weed, W-E-E-D, just like grows in the ground. I live over in the Aurora area, right up by close to the fairgrounds off of Bridgewater. I hadn't intended to speaking tonight, but since I saw we had an open area, that I would go ahead. And for you, remember me, I've been here before about the Mary Sy Center. I want to address Mr. Roberts' comment on things that got done or what haven't been done or what. but there was a concern about a water main being put in. And having put in thousands and thousands of feet of water and sewer in this town during my construction time when I worked before I retired, there's a time of year to be putting this in and a time of year not to be putting in. You can put it in at those other times of year, but it's very expensive. There was money allocated for this main to be replaced because it was a failing supposedly main, and I don't see the ground dug up over in that area, and I don't know if maybe they somewhere now they went in there and put in what they call a sealer inside. They put a pipe inside a pipe. Maybe they did this. I don't know. But that's one thing I know that did not get done this year. Or if it is, I had heavy frost at my house last night, so I don't know what other places were. So we're getting to that time of season when it's too expensive to be putting in water and sewer. I just want to say, I just came tonight to say, hey, we're still alive and kicking, and we're trying to help out. And Jimmy bringing up the buddy deal, maybe once a month you can bring in a friend, and I've done this in other businesses and stuff, and it's encouraged membership to increase or usage increase. And the revenue is a loss at the beginning, but in the end, you almost double your income. So that's an idea that can be brought up. I've always toted the idea, instead of looking for other ways to bring revenue into the borough. Bring up Alaska Land or Pioneer Park, Hesray or some of the other parks, the fields that are being used, not fields, but picnic parks, I'll call them, summer usage parks. Soccer fields, etc., that there's some kind of token amount of money be brought in there would help with maintenance. I'm not saying to pay for the whole dang things, but I'm just saying a token part of maintenance. That's about all I got to say. I hope you don't start putting in a water main here this month, and if you do, hurry up and get her done.
Thank you, Mr. Weed. Let's see if there are questions. We're a quiet group tonight.
I see that.
Thank you very much.
I wasn't radical enough. I should have jumped up and played my guitar. Oh, I don't play the guitar.
We
I can sing a song.
We appreciate you coming down and
Oh, you're welcome.
your suggestions and observations. Does anyone else wish to speak on items not on the agenda this evening? Seeing no one coming forward, I'm going to close citizens' comments B. Now let's go find our agenda and see where we are. I believe that's going to take us back to our consent agenda. So that takes us to approval of agenda and consent agenda. Approval of the consent agenda passes all routine items indicated by an asterisk on the agenda. Consent agenda items are not considered separately unless an assembly member so requests. If the consent item to be removed is an ordinance up to be introduced, advanced, or referred, it takes 2 assembly members to remove the item from the consent agenda. In the event of such a request, the item is returned to the general agenda. Does anyone need to declare a possible conflict of interest for items on the consent agenda? I see no one indicating they do. Are there any other items to be removed from the consent agenda before it's read? I see no one indicating they want to. Clerk, would you please read the consent agenda?
Approval of minutes, regular assembly meeting minutes of September 6, 2018. Communications to the Assembly, memorandum from Mayor Castle recommending the appointment of various service area commissioners. Consideration of calendar, new business, ordinances to be referred to committees or commissions. Ordinance number 2018-40, an ordinance amending Fairbanks North Star Borough Code 18.108.040A to allow reconstruction of a non-conforming building. Sponsors, Assembly Members Roberts and Lojeski. Refer to the Planning Commission on November 13, 2018, with recommendation due back no later than November 26, 2018. Consideration of calendar, new business, ordinances to be introduced and advanced to public hearing. Ordinance number 2018-21I, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2018-19 budget by appropriating $1,683,000 from the Solid Waste Disposal Enterprise Operating Fund unrestricted net position to the Solid Waste Disposal Enterprise Projects Fund for Solid Waste Facility Perimeter Maintenance. Sponsor Mayor Castle. Refer to the Finance Committee on October 4th, 2018, advance to October 11th, 2018 for public hearing. Ordinance number 2018-21J, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2018-19 budget by appropriating $1,570,000 from the Solid Waste Disposal Enterprise Operating Fund unrestricted net position to the Solid Waste Disposal Enterprise Projects Fund for the replacement or rebuild of heavy equipment. Sponsor, Mayor Castle. Refer to the Finance Committee on October 4th, 2018. Advance to October 11th, 2018 for public hearing. Ordinance number 2017-22G, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2017-18 budget by appropriating $2,982.46 in state grant funding to the general fund for the purchase of technology equipment for the Fairbanks North Star Borough Public Libraries. Sponsor, Mayor Castle. Refer to the Finance Committee on October 4th, 2018. Advance to October 11th, 2018 for public hearing. Ordinance number 2018-21L, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2018-19 budget by appropriating $22,691 from Birch Hill Service Area and $31,596 from Chena Spurs Service Area fund balances to the Capital Projects Fund for the required match for FMAT's Improvement Program Surface Upgrades Project. Sponsor, Mayor Castle. Refer to the Finance Committee on October 4th, 2018. Advance to October 11th, 2018 for public hearing. Ordinance number 2018-21M, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2018-19 budget by appropriating $1,600,000 from the general fund balance to the multi-year general subfund and/or the capital projects fund for the purchase and implementation of a facility asset management system and employ 4 term permanent full-time equivalent employee positions authorized as necessary for implementation. Sponsor, Mayor Castle. Refer to the Finance Committee on October 4th, 2018. Advance to October 11th, 2018 for public hearing. And that concludes your consent agenda.
Thank you. I'd look for a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
Move to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Lawrence and seconded by Mr. Tackey. Is there any objection to the agenda and consent agenda as read? Seeing none, it's approved. It's unanimously adopted. And that takes us to messages from the Borough Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We've got a ton of things going on here with the season wrapping up and an election coming up on Tuesday. A reminder to folks, October 2 is our local election day, and I think it's very important that folks get out and have their voices be heard. It's the best way to do it. There are a number of important issues for our community on the ballot, so please come on out. Get informed first is helpful too, and be an informed voter and come out and vote on October 2nd. And keep tracking what's going on for the state and national general election in November 6th. Coming up also. So lots going on there. Just mere moments ago at 5:04 this evening, we got the final version of the regional growth plan from the consultant. They're going to print some hard copies for us to have available here at the building, and also we will be posting it online as quickly as we can get it, or they're posting it on their website. We'll also get it on the borough's page. We're hopeful to have it up within a day or two anyway. The website for folks that want to look at it, it is EAFB, initials for Eielson Air Force Base, so it's EAFB Regional Growth, all one word, .com. And there are, I don't know how many suggestions off the top of my head, actually, and recommendations included in that document. We've already started working on it from the drafts and the parts of it that we knew were coming and some of the more important things for our community. An example of that is it recommends that we form a housing task force in our community, and we've already done that. FEDC, Fairbanks Economic Development, has taken the lead on that. They've already held a meeting and did a tour at some the facilities out in North Pole where we're seeing housing construction going on and other things. So we're taking the growth plan very seriously and acting on it already. So I hope folks take a look at it because it also suggests a number of opportunities for the private sector to get engaged. An example of that is the Foundation Health Partners are already planning a health clinic out in North Pole, because one of the gaps we have in our delivery system here is lack of health care on the east side of town, where we're going to see the major part of the influx. So Foundation Health Partners are already working on that also. And so there's all kinds of information and opportunities pointed out in the document. I hope people take the opportunity to take a look at it. So EAFBRegionalGrowth.com. We just last week concluded our week of air quality meetings with state and the state DEC and federal EPA. We met all week long and then concluded the week with the air quality conference. Lots of kudos to folks engaged in that. Our own air quality department and some of the things they did, and a demonstration with 2 identical stoves, one burning dry wood and one burning wet wood, and tracking both the emissions and the heat output and graphing it. And it was dramatic, the difference between the two. Even though identical high quality devices, operator error is dramatic when you throw wet wood in it. And you ought to take a look at that. We're getting all of that is up online on our website also. I don't know if they have the graphs posted yet. If they're not up, we'll get those up soon. But for quite a bit of the burn time, the heat output from the dry wood was triple the heat output of the wet wood. So, and there wasn't that much of a moisture content difference between the two. We did the demonstration twice, on Friday and on Saturday. On Friday, it was only a 14% difference in moisture content between the two, 14% dry and 28% wet. And we allow up to 20%, so the 28% isn't much wetter than our standard that we require, and yet the heat output was dramatically different. The emissions were definitely different, not quite as dramatic at that separation of moisture content, but on Saturday, Mother Nature helped us out and rained on our wood pile Friday night. So Saturday, our 28% wood was up to about 38 to 40% moisture content. And holy smokes, when that went in the stove. We started a good hot fire, got a good bed of coals going in both, so both stoves were operating hot and the same, and then we threw in a new supply of wood into them. And the one that got the 40% wood, the heat output just nosedived immediately and stayed low for the entire burn cycle all the way through. So anyway, lots of good information. We got huge kudos. The only weak part that I would identify in the weekend is we were disappointed with turnout from public folks. There weren't a lot of just general public citizens there engaged, and there were certainly a wealth of different kinds of meetings presented by a whole variety of different kinds of people, and it would have been nice to have a little more there. A few more folks there. It is on our website, so go to the website and take a look at some of those presentations. I think they could be helpful for you to take a look at that. One thing, we're not sure exactly how many people watched how much of each presentation, but we were live streaming it, and we did have 60 people, 60 different addresses on, not all at the same time, but on and off over the course of it. So there was actually a fair number of folks watching from home, so to speak, when they had a little time available. Since we have an election coming up, and I'm not going to be sitting in this chair too much longer, I just wanted you to know that we're working on transition reports. Chief of Staff has had all of our directors and a number of the managers put together a summary of where we are in their departments, strengths, weaknesses, and whatnot, so that we can help transition to whoever happens to be sitting in this chair and help get them off to a good start. So we are working on that. We have all the reports back from the staff. Mr. Williams is compiling the final draft of that now, and we'll have it ready so that whoever is going to be taking the seat, we can even get started with a little bit of the transition information before they actually have to sit in the chair. there, which might be helpful. And I intend to make myself available to answer whatever questions they have if they're interested. We'd like to see that we can have the smoothest transition possible and have a new mayor and a new administration up to speed on day one as best we can. So that's it. I'll answer whatever questions you have.
Okay, let's see if there are any. No one else does. I have some.
One.
Pardon me?
I have one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if you were saying yeah. Go for it.
I'm just curious on the wetwood, drywood. Did you take video and so that you can build an ad around that, an educational ad based on
Sweet.
that point?
We did shoot video, and we are going to try to do that, yes, because I think particularly with the wetter wood, the emissions were incredibly different. I mean, that was a strong visual, and the graphs on both days were very strong visuals also. So we shot video footage, and we'll see how quickly we can get that out.
Yeah, the video was, or the display was very interesting, and that was one of my questions. How low was the what was the temperature difference with the 40% wood?
The warmer stove was running 700 to 800 degrees, and the wetwood stove was running about 120, 150, and it fluctuates obviously on both of them. But I mean, for a significant part of the burn, that was that much difference.
And the 30%, the 28%.
It was about 700 compared to, I believe the numbers were in the upper 200s.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was
thank
about 270, I think.
And is that regional plan also going to be available in the library?
Yes, we're going to make it available in as many places as we can. We're getting, I mean, it's so large.
Yeah, how big is it? I was
Yeah,
estimating 800 pages.
No,
400?
456 pages, yeah. So we'll have a hard copy at the library and some available here, and also some CDs for people. They want to look at it that way, and then available a couple places online, our website and the Regional Growth website.
Thank you. Probably search, it's easier to search if it's digital, huh? Any other questions from the mayor? Seeing none? Thank you, Mayor. That takes us to reports of standing and special committees. I'll start with you, Mr. Tacky.
All right, yeah, actually we had an audit committee meeting for the midterm audit, like halfway through, get a progress report. A couple weeks ago, everything seemed to be going on track. Field work has gone well. The reviews from the partners are going well. Everything seems to be on track. The only thing that might be a slight delay in being able to meet our November deadline might be the timeline that financial statements get pulled from IGU Pentex merger, which is a rather complicated financial statement to assemble, along with the school district one. They still can make the deadline just fine, but that was the only risk that might be coming up. Other than that, everything looks like it's on track, and we're performing the single audit on the transit right now is when the fieldwork's being done for the borough. And so that if everything comes out good, then that's when we can actually be done with the high-risk audit that's associated with that. So,
Super. This the third year then?
the second
Potentially,
year, yeah.
second. Any questions for Mr. Tacky? Seeing none, thanks for that report. Ms. Wojcicki, do you have any standing or special committee report?
No report.
Thank you. Ms. Lawrence,
I have nothing to report.
nothing about the slow committee, the now fast committee?
Yeah, it's not as fast as we'd like. We're still working on it. I'll have more to report in a couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Roberts, Mr. Quist.
Thank you. The Air Pollution Control Commission doesn't have a meeting on the agenda. They're still participating in the stakeholders group. Currently, the Sustainability Commission will meet on Wednesday the 3rd at 6:30 at the conference room at Noel Ween. And they'll be taking the second look at that draft ordinance that's the commercial tipping fee waiver for recyclables. And also discussing the their draft sustainability plan and sustainability summit, which will be just an outreach kind of forum after they've done their work for the year here, or the culmination of that. And the Capital Projects and Legislative Priorities Committee will be meeting on the 11th. Thank you.
And Mr. Cooper?
No reports.
No reports. I too have nothing that I can think of to report. And I believe that may take us to a recess until 7. Is that about your estimate of it too, clerks?
Yes.
Okey-doke. We're recessed until 7. Okay, we're going to call our September 27th meeting back to order. It is approximately 7 o'clock on September 27th. And we start with reports from our representatives. And we'll start with Ms. Rogers. Welcome, City Council Member Rogers.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. City Council had a pretty good list of items that went before us and were voted in this past meeting. An ordinance that was ratifying a labor agreement with the fire department, and an ordinance that authorized the lease of a space for the Fast Planning Inc., and most of you know that as FMETS, which is now going to be like Pioneer Park and Alaska Land. Everyone's going to have to remember to call it Fast Planning Inc. And it will remain in Main School City Hall. That's where they will reside. There was also a resolution authorizing the city to accept a community development block grant, and a resolution that accepted funds for the Alaska Highway Safety Office, and a resolution that ratified the reorganization of FMATs, besides the rental agreement. Also, there was a resolution that was accepted and approved by the council from Engel Entertainment about the production of a possible television series. It's an item that received a lot of discussion, and we're hoping for the best is probably the best way to sum up all of our discussion and information that we received. This is intended to be a recruiting assist for the police department, and it's been something that's been in the works for quite a while, since early spring, discussing the arrangements for this, and Chief Jukes is confident that it will go forward in the very best fashion possible to represent the area in a good light, and he does have final editing on the film that's going to be created. So that was a very large discussion item. Lots of people coming to the meeting. And our other ordinance, which really packed the house, was the ordinance 6084, with the idea of increasing the city's percentage of the bed tax. And there was enough discussion where it really felt that necessary to postpone and continue discussions on this really important issue to the first meeting in December. So there's going to be a lot more community input, a lot more study and information that will be exchanged back and forth with Explore Fairbanks, with the general public, with the businesses who are involved in tourism, all hands on deck, so to speak, in order to come up with whatever is going to be a workable agreement there. So. Another positive step forward with relationship building for the police department is Coffee with a Cop. That's being held again this year, sponsored by Barnes & Noble. That's going to be at 10 o'clock to 12:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 3rd. And the mission of this project is to help break down barriers between the officers and the citizens that they serve. This allows them opportunity for questions, to voice concerns, and to get to know the officers in their neighborhood in a very casual, friendly exchange of conversation. And we encourage people to make opportunity to have those conversations over at Barnes & Noble on October 3rd. And I want to thank the borough. Just today, we received information about a link that that connects us to information regarding the borough meeting agendas. What a fine idea. Thank you so much. I think the more we work together on things, the better equipped we are to work on some of the really difficult issues that are facing Fairbanks. And I can't think of a better way to do that. So again, this exchange back and forth of information and communication is our best step forward. Tonight is probably, this is my third meeting in a row. We take turns, 3 meetings. Tonight's my third meeting, so I won't be back at another meeting subsequent to this. And with the election, this may be my last opportunity to say a really hearty thank you to all of you. I really enjoy the relationship that we have working together with the city and the borough. And I admire all the work and effort that all of you put into researching the information and the discussion that ensues. What a wonderful group of people you are in how you handle your affairs here. It's admirable. And I want to say thank you to Mayor Castle. It's not unknown that you're one of my heroes. I've always really appreciated your leadership, your passion for the success of our community. It's exemplary. You've worked so hard over the years. I've worked together with you and observed your work over the years, way back in the early days of Parks and Rec, and all the way through to the work that you've done for the borough. How we work together in this community is something that really, it's like a wheel, and you're the center of that axle that keeps us all kind of strung together in these projects, many projects. And I think that your insight is very important. I'm so glad that you're still going to be involved in community discussion, that you're not taking off for Florida or someplace like that. Again, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Let's see if there are any questions or comments other than that we've appreciated working with you. Mr. Lawrence.
Yeah, Ms. Rogers, you mentioned the bed tax percentage. Was this an ordinance to increase the bed tax or to increase the percentage of the bed tax that will be held on by the city and not turned over to Explore Fairbanks?
It was a percentage of increase over a 3-year period, and to be able to use some of those funds for general purposes for city expenditures.
So it's what percentage does the city keep now?
Oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to give real accurate information on that. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't have that specifically with me or in my head right now. I think that, yes, look at folks here who have better, closer relationship to that information right this minute. Hands are really raised.
Lejeski, you're on the Explore Fairbanks ex officio.
I was just going to ask, since I can do questions, right, was it 22.5%?
That's my guess, yes,
Of the
but I
first
didn't
8
want to
percentage
quote
points?
it because unless I have it in front of me, it's difficult.
So
Mr. Roberts?
my understanding was that the extra money being generated, 100% of that was going to the city, but the original amount, the same percentage, was going to destination marketing. Is that sound correct?
That's my understanding too, that would not change. But I know that it was like 1.5% or 0.5%, and there was some different percentages there that it would go up, and those I'm not remembering real clearly. But yes, you're right, Lance, that division there, and then those steps would be for.
So it wasn't impacting what the current situation or the current equation. It was adding 2.6%, as I recall, over the next 3 years.
Yes.
Increasing the bed tax, and the increase would go to the city?
Yeah. general fund.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for Ms. Rogers? The CDBG money, was that just a grant or was it directed towards anything in particular?
I am,
By the way, acronym queen here, Community Development Block Grant is what a CDBG is.
yes, I know, but.
That was for the
this
public
was-
that doesn't speak.
The information that I have with me tonight is that this was on the consent agenda. It was something that was researched and introduced by Mayor Matherly, and that it was authorizing the city to accept that grant, which is a regular occurrence.
Super, thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Anything else? I know I speak for all of us when we say we've enjoyed working with you too, and obviously look forward to working with you in some form in the future. So that takes us to a report from the City of North Pole representative, who we don't have one this evening, and then we would have a report from the school board representative, but we don't have one of them either this evening, so we're going to move on. They gave perfect reports. And that takes us to special orders public hearing at or after 7 p.m. Oops, excuse me. And we start with the marijuana license, new limited cultivation facility license 14252. It's on page 44. I need to start with some conflict of interest. Thank you. Mr.
Yeah.
Cathy?
As I own a cannabis manufacturing facility, this could be a potential vendor or a customer of mine.
Thank you. So we agree that you have a conflict. Mr. Quist?
Thank you. I have a potential conflict of interest. My in-laws are licensed cultivators, and this potential licensee could be a vendor or competitor.
Thank you. So we'll agree that you also have a conflict, potential conflict. And that leaves us nobody else declaring potential conflicts. So we will resume with marijuana license, new limited cultivation facility license 14252. It's on page 44 of your packet. The applicant is Jeffrey Weltzing, DBA Primate Rock Harvest, Inc., 2276 Sunshine Avenue, Fairbanks 99709. We also have resolution number 2018-30, a resolution protesting new limited cultivation facility marijuana license number 14252 Primate Rock Harvest, Inc. That sponsor is Assemblymember Roberts, and that is on page 114. We'll start with a staff report from you, Mayor Castle.
Thank you. We'll go to Mr. Williams for that report.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Dodge, the Borough Administration took a look at Jeffrey Weltzing, DBA Primate Rock Harvest, Inc.'s limited cultivation facility application. And just a quick detail, this is a little off script. You may notice that in the worksheet in the packet on page 45, it has a date notice received of July 11th, 2018. Doing the math, that puts us today past the 60 days. Well, we noticed that pretty quickly. The reason why it was held up, somehow this application got sent to us from the state marijuana control board as being complete when it didn't have a zoning permit. So we ran it downstairs, helped the applicant get the zoning permit process going. They were able to get their zoning permit tidied up at the end of August, and then that's now you're seeing this application before you. We did talk to the marijuana control board, and they in their administration they put this on hold pending assembly action tonight. That concludes. So pending that, the property is zoned consistently with its intended use, and Borough Administration recommends no protest.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Roberts, would you like to give us a staff report on your resolution?
Yes. So I'm protesting this facility based on the fact that the cultivation facility would operate in violation of federal law. Marijuana cultivation negatively impacts public health, and the facility is located in a residential neighborhood, negatively impacting the neighborhood.
Thank you. So with that, we're going to open public hearing. I have two people signed up, Mr. Weltzing, and I have Christine Sheridan also signed up. Oh, okay. So we'll take you off. Mr. Weltzing, you're the applicant, so you'll have 10 minutes. Please give us your name, spell your last name, tell us your neighborhood, and you'll have 10 minutes.
Hello, I'm Jeff Weltzine. I live at 3844 Ulerbahn on top of Esterdome. My last name is spelled Weltzin, and I'm here to testify in support of a non-protest of this limited cultivation license and to oppose Resolution 2018-30. I thought I would just introduce myself first before I talk about the actual business activity. I've been here for 30-some years, 40 years now, 40 years, and I was on the assembly back in the late 80s, served in this same room. I'm very much a small business person, and I've had a number of businesses. I did 20 years of the original Alaska Birch Syrup Company, where I harvested birch sap and made birch syrup in the Fairbanks area. I currently have the Alaska Wilderness Gourmet business, where we do wild berry syrups, jams, and jellies. I'm a consultant for rural Alaska, and I'm also the city manager for Tanana on the Yukon River for the last 4 years. So I have a diversity of business, part-time business activities, and this limited cultivation license is just really an extension of my effort to be a small business person. And we have built a facility at 2276 Sunshine in Goldstream Valley, and it's a limited grow, less than 500 square feet of canopy. We have a building that is windowless, has commercial grade security hardware on the doors, is all video cameraed for security purposes, and we're making every effort to be non-obtrusive to the community. And so really a limited grow is, like I just mentioned, less than 500 square foot. In Fairbanks, there are facilities that are 20 and 30,000 square foot facilities. So this is very much a boutique small business activity.
Does that conclude
Yes.
your report? Okay, are there questions for Mr. Weltzine? Yes, Mr. Lejeski.
Would you describe the neighborhood as residential?
So it's residential, it's all general use, and there is a number of small-scale commercial activities in the community. There's one block over a sawmill, and another block over there's a small, a general construction business. So really, it's a mix of residential and small businesses in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I had one. Can you tell us about your air handling system?
Since it's so small in scale, the air handling system is fairly rudimentary. 2 volumes of, one volume for every 2 volumes of exchange. So there will be a carbon filtration system on the exhaust, and we do not expect any odors off the carbon system.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to speak on the marijuana license, new limited cultivation facility license 14252? Seeing no one else coming forward, I'm going to close public hearing. Look for a motion.
I move the resolution of protest 2018-30.
Second.
So it's been moved by Mr. Roberts and seconded by Mr. Lejeski to Resolution 2018-30.
Yeah, I just have one thing to say. I want to make sure everyone understands this isn't, as with most of these that are in neighborhoods, at the edge of the neighborhood. This is dead center in the neighborhood. And it's definitely a residential neighborhood. So I want to make sure everyone understood that.
Okay, on the resolution, any other discussion or debate? Seeing none, there are a few of us up here. Clerk, please call the roll on Resolution 2018-30.
Mr. Cooper?
No.
Mr. Lejeski?
No.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence?
No.
Ms. Dodge?
No. Would anyone like to change their vote? Seeing none,
1-4.
the resolution fails 1-4.
Move to file no protest.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Lawrence and seconded by Mr. Cooper to file no protest. Discussion debate on the no protest. Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll on no protest.
Mr. Slajewski?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
No.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
Ms. Dodge?
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? Seeing none,
4-1.
I presume it fails 4-1.
That's correct.
Okay. So that leaves us, any other motions anyone wishes to make? I believe that the status then is that essentially it's inert. We have no action that we're taking at this time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. With that, we're going to move on to ordinance 2018-30. And that's an ordinance thank you. We'll wait for our colleagues to come forward. And let the record reflect, please, that Mr. Quist and Mr. Tuckey are back on the dais. So we are now at ordinance number 2018-30, which is an ordinance reauthorizing various Fairbanks North Star Borough boards and commissions. The sponsor is Mayor Castle. It's on page 116. Mayor Castle, do you have a staff report?
I do. This is essentially a housekeeping item for us. The way we create our boards and commissions and authorize them, it is a 6-year sunset. And so back in 2012, we authorized these commissions for the next 6 years, so they expire here very soon. There's 13 different commissions here, and I think they're very important in our community. Each one is unique, a little bit different. They all serve unique purposes. Each one is comprised of individuals that are subject matter experts in their respective fields associated with these commissions, and we rely on them as an administration as well as you. We frequently send different ordinances to these folks for comments because they are the experts in our community on the different subjects. So I see a huge value in this. They contribute quite a bit to open and transparent government, and I hope you agree with me, and we just reauthorize all 13 of them for another 6 years. This my hope. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes your staff report. So we're now moving to public hearing on ordinance 2018-30, and ordinance reauthorizing various Fairbanks North Star Borough Board. Mr. Lawrence, and seconded by Mr. Cooper. Mr. Roberts.
So, even though I don't want to, I will be voting for this. And I think a lot of these commissions could go away. We've got rid of a few commissions in my time here on the Assembly, and we could definitely get rid of some more. But the one that's most useful, I'm not saying they're all at the same level, but the Land Management Advisory Commission I found with my participation, and not because of my participation, but I found the knowledge by participating in it, that it's a very good commission. They really watch out for the borough's property and for the private property owners. They really look over the ordinances, of course, and when they made a mistake, as we know this last year, they came back and told us that, and we sent it back, and they did a lot more work. And so I feel that's a very good commission dealing with land issues, which hopefully will move to be able to sell even more land in the future, and we'll need them even more. So I'll be voting for this because I definitely want to approve this commission. I kind of wish he'd broke it out, but that might have dragged on a while. So that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Cooper, and then Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Mayor.
I was just going to ask a question about the Investment Advisory Committee and whether that committee is active and currently fully staffed. I have some memory in the back of my mind that we had problems at some point finding people to participate in that committee and that it was not active.
They don't meet often because of the nature of that, so it is active. And if I'm not mistaken, there's there might be a state statutory requirement. I'm not positive on. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. But anyway, we do rely on information from them, and they only meet very sporadically.
But the committee does have sufficient membership currently?
Yes, I think we may have a vacancy, but they are functional.
Okay, thanks.
I have Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Mayor.
Well, I will agree that we've had some boards and commissions that needed to be discontinued because of the lack of meeting and the lack of real purpose of those commissions, but none of these, from my perspective, fall into that category, so I'll be happy to vote in favor of this ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your patience.
And no problem. I would like to point out line 42 because the language is that we are authorizing them for a period not to exceed 6 years. And so at any time, if we decide that one of these commissions is no longer necessary or functioning, whatever, we can deal with them individually to get rid of any one of them at any time. So.
I'd like to ask what the Public Transportation Advisory Commission does.
They look at transportation across our community. They help us by looking at bus routes and service areas and how we fit in the entire transportation structure in our community as far as like Uber, taxi cabs, and all that sort of thing, and provide advice on what direction we might want to take with any and all of the above.
Thank you. Sounds like an important commission.
Oh, and I was also reminded there is a requirement for this on paratransit. Yeah, there has to be a board to review that, and are we meeting our standards, et cetera.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, debate, discussion? Seeing none, clerk, I believe we're ready to vote.
Mr. Quist?
Yes.
Mr. Tackey?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Lojewski?
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
Ms. Dodge?
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? Seeing none,
7-0.
it is approved 7-0. And that takes us to citizens' comments again. We have another bite at both of our citizens' comments. This is citizens' comments for items that are not scheduled for public hearing. So this would be items that are on the agenda that, but not available for public comment. So I'm going to open that citizens' comments. I don't see anyone coming forward to speak on items not on the agenda. So I'm going to close public comment, and that's going to take us to another citizens' comments, and that is for items that are not scheduled on the agenda. So this is for anything not on the agenda that anyone wishes to speak about, and I'm opening them up, and I'm not seeing anyone coming forward, so I'm going to close those. And that takes us to assembly member comments. Mayor, do you want a second bite of the apple before we go to assembly member comments?
I think I'm all set, thank you.
Okie dokie, then. Let's see, Mr. Tackey, did I start with you on, you want to start again? Do you want comments?
I don't
Go
mind
for it.
starting again. I get the first crack at the everyone get out
Okay.
and vote apple. So that would just be my point is don't forget there's local elections this Tuesday, October 2nd, and make sure you get out and vote.
Very good.
Lots of important things on the ballot.
Thank you. Mr. Lojewski.
I echo that. Otherwise, no comment.
Thank you. Mr. Lawrence.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's important for this community that people stand up and vote, because if you don't vote, then you don't count.
Okay. Mr. Roberts.
Well, I'd say everyone counts, but your voice isn't heard quite as well. Your vote is the biggest voice we hear, and there's a lot of important stuff and a lot of important positions with decisions to be made in the upcoming years. And so I hope everyone does a lot of research and really understands what these issues as best as you can. And you're certainly welcome to call if you need some more information. I get lots of people who call me around election time. And it's an important thing. It's Tuesday. Just take a little bit of time and get her done. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Quist.
Thank you. Ditto. And I'd also like to say thank you to Ms. Rogers for her service to our community and at the city, and the service I imagine will continue as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper.
So I echo Mr. Quist's sentiments and thank Ms. Rogers for your participation and coming to our meetings and participating in them as well, not just delivering a report, but have appreciated your engagement with the Assembly. Everybody go out and vote for all the reasons that are previously stated, and also thank you to all the volunteers who are out there helping with the elections, running the polling stations, making sure that everything is run efficiently and smoothly and fairly. So thanks to everybody who is taking their time to do that.
Thank you, and I would echo everybody's comments, including Mr. Roberts. If people have questions, I'm sure all of us would be willing to answer them. And I've heard some confusion about initiative number 1, and just in that this is not the initiative number 1 that is going to be voted on in November. Some people are mixing those up. This is a local, and I believe it is the bonds that is our initiative number 1. So again, call if you have questions, and thank you to the clerks and to the volunteers that are staffing our precincts. I know that they are busy and that it's a work of, I want to say it's the work of love is what comes to mind, which isn't quite right, but I know that it's a challenge, and we appreciate their service. And I also wanted to suggest to our esteemed Deputy Presiding Officer that we might have consider having a stakeholders report from at a committee of the whole in the near future. John Davies presented at the on Tuesday morning energy work group, and it was very interesting and informative.
Okay, no, yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Could be very interesting. And kudos to the stakeholder group for the work they've done. They're coming up with some creative ideas, and it sounds like they've had a lot of really in-depth discussion. They spent a lot of time understanding the issue and understanding each other, and it's paying off, and I appreciate that. So with that, it says in front, so Tuesday, October 2 is municipal election day. In-person absentee voting is available at all 3 municipal clerk's offices Monday through Friday, so that means North Pole, City of North Pole, City of Fairbanks, and right out here in the borough offices. And those are open from 8 to 5 until Monday, October 1st. And for more information, you can contact the borough clerk's office at 459-1401. And our next meeting is Thursday, October 4th, and that will be a Finance Committee meeting at 5:30 in the Assembly Chambers with the Committee of the Whole work session immediately following. And if there's nothing else for the good of the order, we're adjourned.